A well-known YouTube friend of mine suggested that I watch a video today by Tooltime9901, so I decided to take a look. I had a little trepidation about making a video response to it because philosophy, while interesting to me sometimes, is not something I know much about compared to the natural sciences. I think that I can put my own unique spin on some of the points he raised, though, and perhaps make some analogies to other areas that I'm more familiar with. Tooltime talked about the writings of Nietzsche and how the God 1.0 view of a literal interpretation of religious texts held sway in the world for thousands of years, and how the 2.0 version is much more based on metaphor, but has only relatively recently caught on. His main question was how long will it be before we hit 3.0, where belief becomes even more metaphorical, and most of the believers remaining will be more in the mold of unbranded, non-personal, spiritual energy type of construct that the New Age types seem to embrace today. There was much more to it, of course, but that's the basic background. So how long will it be before we get to that point? If history is any indication, it will not be long compared to the span of human history. Think of technology. It took us thousands of years to build the first radio, but less than 100 to build the first iPod from there. I believe the God 2.0 concept is just the most widely accepted fallback position by theists of many stripes right now. As they realized their positions of faith on matters that used to be unproven were being overrun by demonstrable scientific discovery over the centuries, many of them retrenched further back into a position not based on as much of an obviously faulty understanding of the natural world. And I think that they thought it was a less assailable position. Now, however, I believe that they have a new threat to contend with, and that is the shrinking of the world due to technology. People can exchange ideas instantly, and in ways that the original God 2.0 proponents never could have imagined. People around the world are comparing notes with each other, and increasingly coming to the conclusion that what we see in the world around us has shown nothing that requires God or anything supernatural to exist. As the average person acquires more knowledge, they can also see that religion itself has been evolving for thousands of years based on the times. And that seems like a very shaky piece of ground to place what is supposed to be inerrant truth, doesn't it? I would guess that in 50 years most Christians will have no problem with gay marriage, for instance, and pass off today's opponents as simply not having the correct interpretation on the matter. Not to mention the fact that your particular brand of religion happens to have almost everything to do with what part of the world you happen to be born in, and so the accident of your culture of origin seems to be yet another very shaky basket in which to place your spiritual eggs. Atheism itself has become far more accepted in the past couple decades because it is much more socially acceptable. We always existed, and I personally have not known any other way of thinking, but in a small town in Kansas, for instance, in 1950, a passing thought about doubting God would have found very little foothold in a sea of true believers. Now the atheist community is just a click of a button away, and people feel more free to express themselves. Yes, Religion 3.0 is coming, and we're already seeing the retrenching of the remaining theists, and the abandonment by many of religion altogether. Yes, God 3.0 is very unlikely to be any more rational than God 1.0 or God 2.0, but it's just the next logical step in religious evolution, toward what I believe will eventually be religious extinction. And you know what? That's okay. Poof, he's gone.